I don't know if you're familiar with the Black Panthers. It was a group who of blacks in the US, and they armed themselves. They they armed themselves to the teeth. They weren't, you know, threatening anyone, but they stood around with their rifles, and they were just a strong force. And because they were uniting the Black population, and again, you know that the West and the US will not allow that. I mean, they just won't. Um, what they did was when they were sleeping, they went in and they annihilated them. You know, it was a massacre. It was a massacre. So that's who they are. They don't fight fair. They don't. That's why I give Russia so much credit, so much credit. And I wish that El-Kebulin would learn from Russia. Russia has armed itself to the teeth, to the teeth, that they are they were they are overarmed, so that the US will never come against them, just them and Russia. They won't. That's why you see with this Ukraine situation, the US has gotten the UK and all of the other Western nations, and some Eastern as well, to come together so that they can fight Russia. It's not even, anyone else. It's their focus is on Russia because they know that Russia is stronger than them. It is. It is. And it's by design. Russia armed itself by design to make sure that World War II would never happen to them again. Now, I will say this one thing though for El-Kebulin, it does have a force. They're called the economic freedom fighters. They're in red. Julius Malema, I love him. Oh my gosh. If I
South
believed in
Africa. Yep.
Yeah, if I believed in like double wives and stuff like it, I would marry him. But anyway, I don't. So 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 this man, I mean, from everything that I've learned about him, everything that I've learned about the economic freedom fighters, one, they are in different countries. They're not just in South Africa. Like a large part of what they do is in South Africa, but they're in different countries. So whenever you see the red, that's them. So they are arming themselves. They're armed. They are armed, and they don't take any foolishness from the South Africans. When he sits down and talks to them, he tells them exactly who they are. Like when they say, well, we're African, he's like, no, you're not. You're Europeans. You're just visitors. He says, we're Africans. He said, anybody that comes from any country in Africa here who's Black, they're Africans. He's like, you are not Africans. You will never be Africans. Like, I love him. I'm serious. I love their whole premise. I love their whole ideology. I love that they're strong and nobody comes against them. And he's already said, if someone tries to take my life, he says, that's fine. He says, I'll die a martyr. But if you cut me off, he says, someone else will rise up within our ranks. That's something that has not happened with the Black leaders in the US. They'll get one Black leader and everybody will rally around him. And I'll just use Martin Luther King as an example. When they took out Martin Luther King Jr., everything died, or pretty much everything died. So what they need to do and what other countries in El-Kebulin need to do is rally around like entities like we'll just say the EFF. So because these men are, and women, because there's some women in that as well, are strong. They're fighters. They're not taking any foolishness from the West and from the colonizers that are still on the continent. So I will give El Kebulin that. They do have the EFF. And again, they are spread out through all of El Kebulin. They're focused on South Africa, but he says that they're everywhere. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. That is a kind of idea. In Africa, we are not new to resisting the oppression.
Yes.
We're not new to it. We have a lot of people that have been killed by it, and many more will be killed by it. Because as long as Africa is not free, of course, a lot of Africans will remain in chain. That will continuously happen. But there are some who are going to tell you, you take my life or you give me my freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that is the only cost of freedom, actually. Because freedom, you don't sign in on contract. You are shown the way out.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only way it's going to happen also in Africa. Those ones that they prepare in London or in Washington or in Paris to tell you you are free, I don't believe it.
Yeah. No, there's
Those
no freedom without
deceptive,
economic freedom.
exactly, those deceptive freedom is what keep us the way where we are today. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, like I said before, I like to look at our responsibility. That is very important for me. Now, tell us a little bit about your business of connection. Because okay, now we spent a lot of time talking about African defense and all, because they are also very important. Though they are important, but of course, your business also is important. So tell us something about it. How do you operate?
Okay. So basically, I operate by word of mouth, and I do have a website. It's called Pride of Africa Travel, and prideofafrica.site, and that's Africa with a K. And what I do is I help people who are wanting to create businesses. So it's like a business consultant, as well as helping people with relationship issues. So I did start a channel, Finding Love in Africa with Dr. Vondell, and just giving sage advice, about relationships, things that people need to look at as far as themselves, as far as when they're getting involved with other people. Unfortunately, people want to get involved so quickly without getting to know the other person. They get involved sexually, they get involved emotionally, and without getting to know the person as a person. Um, that's very dangerous, because once you get involved sexually, logic leaves, like it flies out the window. So if people don't take anything else away from what I tell them about relationships, it's just take your time, get to know the person. Don't immediately jump into bed with them. Get to know them as a person, get to know their character, get to know their family. Because if you get married, you're not just marrying that person, you're marrying the family as well. So get to know their family. Um, don't just go on the outer appearance. So many people are saying, oh, he's very handsome, she's beautiful. Well, that's great, but what about their character? You know, does their when it's all said and done, does their character match with that outer appearance? Is their heart, for you? Is their heart for what they can get from you? Or is their heart for what they can give you? Love gives. Love doesn't take. Lust takes. That's where you get, people um, getting involved with other people to take advantage of them. And they can take advantage in different ways. It's not just sexually. They can take advantage of them financially. I've heard of people in the diaspora getting married very quickly to people on the continent without getting to know them. And they get involved with them sexually. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that sex is a bad thing. Sex is beautiful. It is. But if you're relying on that as the foundation for the relationship, it's not going to last. again, going back to some of the stories that I've heard, horror stories that I've heard, where the diaspora will marry someone because they've had sex with them or because they become emotionally involved with them, and the person exploits them financially and then they leave them, or they marry them, they get to come to the US or other countries like the UK or other areas outside of the continent, and then they leave them or they stop having sex with them and then they start doing other things. So it seems like common sense to just take your time to get to know someone, but it's not common if so many people are being taken advantage of. So just my advice is take your time, get to know them, get to know their character.